Located on 225 acres in Garden City, Long Island, Nassau Community College, a member of the State University of New York system, has close to 20,000 students attend the school each year. The college mascot is Leo the Lion, and these are his stories of the school's absolute best and brightest who have graduated over the past 50-plus years. So let's catch up together as the Alumni Association of Nassau Community College proudly presents Lion Tales on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.
Welcome to Lion Tales, powered by the Nassau Community College Foundation. My name is Aurora Workman. I am the president of the Nassau Community College Alumni Association, and I'm here with my friend and co-host, Dr. Lynnda Nadien, a proud graduate of Nassau Community College, and together we'll share stories that will inspire, uplift, and often amuse you.
Each week, Aurora and I will introduce you to alumni of Nassau Community College interested in sharing their experiences while attending the college and the secrets to their success.
We'd like to give a great shout out for the 25th anniversary of the Long Island Volunteer Center and the work that they do along with the Nassau Community College students, administrators, faculty, and staff. And welcome again to our campus.
Look for many new and exciting events on the Alumni Association social media pages, Facebook, Instagram, and our webpage is at ncc.edu/alumni. If you, our listening audience, has any positive news you would like to share about alumni happenings, we would love to hear from you. So email us at ncc.edu/alumni.
Today's guest is Yvette Vega, a director of public relations at FDA-approved Neurobehavioral Research, Inc. Yvette's responsibilities include community outreach, networking with referring institutions. She develops strategic partnerships to negotiate contracts, train staff on protocols, and build relationships to organize services. Yvette is also a certified aerobics instructor and independent fitness instructor. And Yvette came as a transfer student, and she's part of the class of 1985. So tell us, what made you come through Nassau Community College?
Fate. It really was fate. When I got here, I had the pleasure of meeting Professor George Presley.
Yes.
And he directed my life in a way that I think would have been undiscovered for me. He took great interest and empowered me in so many ways. And look, we're now what year are we in? So many years later, and I was in this very room in 1985 with Professor George Presley.
That is amazing. You know, and this is what we always talk about with our guests. The professors here have really transformed. They were transformative in our lives. I know, Professor Jenkins changed the trajectory of my life and the direction that it went to. And when I met George Presley, it was over a health issue. He was like, "You're too young to have health issues." You know, he's riding his bike up to me.
He's riding his bike on Hempstead Turnpike.
And he tells me, and we actually met at the Eisenhower Park. I had a very young child, and he had a young child at the time. But I was coughing or wheezing or something, and he says, "You're too young to have it. You know, what are you eating? What are you doing this? And so he was really transformative in my life as well. So as you met with George Presley, Professor George Presley, who has gone on to be resting in paradise, but tell us some of the things that,
what were the inspirations there?
One of the simplest questions, what is it you want to do with your life? And I did not have an answer. So he told me to get a visual depiction, to start looking in books and magazines and find a visual representation of something that I wanted to achieve. So I chose a stage. It was a platform and it was a stage and it was empty. And he then asked me, "Well, do you have any talents?" And I said, "No." And propelled me to discover that I did have talents and something to share, and he educated me on public access and radio and TV, and before I knew it, with everything, he empowered me on how to achieve those steps, like visualizations and affirmations. I then got casted as a cast member for a television show, which aired and syndicated on the Family Channel, and it was Cable Health Club, and we did exercise segments, and that just blossomed into so many other things.
That's so great. So what were some of the other, you came for a brief moment, and I know working with George Presley here in this room, what were some of the things that you were doing?
Oh gosh, I wish we can. Do you guys archive? I would love to go back to.
I think it's going to be the anniversary of the studio coming up, right?
Yeah, so
it
we
is
would
soon.
sit there and yes. So
archiving through photographs or archiving through past, I guess,
segments and
yes,
shows.
certain things that have gone on at the studio.
The 50th
I know
anniversary.
specifically-
Yeah, the 50th
2000.
anniversary.
50th anniversary
He
is
taught
2022.
me about
2022.
interdisciplinary, that it was
Yes.
okay to have multiple interests, and it was okay to multitask. And a lot of it was based on health and fitness and internal wellness, communication, public facing.
Right. He brought that holistic view to me because I really, at that time, didn't grasp the holistic, how everyone is, it's now a common thing. But as you're saying, yes, when he sat there and said, well, you have a great mind, he goes, and your great mind isn't extending to your health habits, and other things like that. And really putting me into my holistic self, kind of helped me bring out my authentic self after that. Because and I was an athlete coming into Nassau Community College, but after I broke my leg and stuff, then I started to get away from the things that I knew to do, and he kind of put me back in front of my own self. And that's why I always say that. People are like, no, in front of my own self, had me look at my own self and talk to myself in a good way and say, remember who you are.
And I love the idea about the visualization. I mean,
first vision board.
And going back, because you're talking about, in the early 80s or mid 80s, we weren't talking about, framing goals or visualizing something. I mean, I really learned a lot about that just recently. I was reading something about Drake because he talks about how he visualized everything that he hoped for himself, and that's why he wrote God's plan, and that's how it led to his success. Because in his mind, he was always visualizing. He didn't know it was a technique that could be used. So when I hear it now, I always kind of equate it to him as a young guy, that he was able to accomplish so many goals.
You're listening to Lion Tales on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. I am Aurora Workman, along with Dr. Lynnda Nadien, and our guest today is Yvette Vega, Director of Public Relations and Certified Fitness Instructor. She is a proud graduate of NCC and a speaker who handles all aspects of events for her firm. So Yvette, as we were talking, and we know that you came through and you met this wonderful Professor George Presley, what are some of the things that you believe you've taken now from that time and put into your position at the Neurobehavioral Research Center?
Well, I want to give a shout out to Dr. Ronald Brenner, who owns Neurobehavioral Research. He's also the chief of the Catholic Health System. And he has the 6 hospitals in Long Island, Mercy Hospital. So he's a visionary, and he wanted to bring better medical treatment to us as a society, and he hired me 14 years ago. Now, this is how I met Dr. Ronald Brenner. My mother was really sick, and she was decompensating, and we were going from neurologist to neurologist to neurologist, in and out of the hospital for a 10-year span. And I have an associate, and she said, why don't you Google psychopharmacologist? And I did, and one person showed up, and that was Dr. Brenner. And he cared for my mother, and in 5 minutes, he changed her medications. In 5 minutes, changed the quality of my life and gave us like a good 20-year run before my mother passed away of Alzheimer's. God bless her.
Yeah, unbelievable.
So
that's amazing.
It led me to belief that we need to make better progress, especially in medication management. And I do teach yoga, and I have taught yoga for 35 years, and I also work for these FDA-approved clinical studies: central nervous system, Alzheimer's, major depression, schizophrenia, bipolar, adult attention deficit, post-traumatic stress. And we're working on really interesting protocols. We're working on sodium benzoate, which is a food derivative for schizophrenia to replenish brain chemistry. We're working on amino acids for post-traumatic stress. And two interesting protocols that haven't started yet. They're looking at CBD oil for schizophrenia, and they're looking at Botox for depression.
Wow.
Wow, that's so interesting.
It's such groundbreaking work, especially when you're talking about neurobehavioral sciences and how it's really our brain and how we perceive and think about things that can also bring about speedy recoveries, or at least adjust our quality of life. So some of the things that you were doing when you visited here at Nassau Community College, because I met you here, you worked along with the veteran students, the student veterans of Nassau Community College, and you always, one, we brightened up when you came to visit. Okay, all the students, I had the pleasure of being with the student veterans of Nassau Community College since the inception of the house, where we allow veteran students to come and have a place called their own on this busy, crowded campus. And one thing was our interest in, because we know these young men and women had before they became 21, because a lot of them joined the military right after high school, had seen more than most. And in that time, we created a safe space and quieter environment for them to have to stay on. And so you used to come, and she brought great food.
That is one of my favorite aspects to my career with neurobehavioral research is the community outreach. Being able to be with the veterans and have lunch with the veterans, and it's what a heartfelt population.
Yes.
And Dr. Manna Harris, I've adopted her now since George Presley is in heaven looking over me.
Well, shout out to Evangeline Manna Harris, the Director of the Veterans Affairs and Community Services.
And empowering women, meeting you and all of this empowerment, giving back and nurturing and developing the minds of our kids.
And always trying to keep, sort of a positive viewpoint, because, we live in an age where people are fearful and they may need help, but they won't come forward to seek it, and they don't know how to. So when they meet people like Aurora and they meet people like you, they'll be able to say, wait a minute, they gave me this opportunity to reach inside myself and say, look, I do need some guidance, and what can you do for me? So that's so important too, that people are not afraid to seek out that help that they need.
And I wish I knew that you were a fitness instructor back then, because you brought to us one day a game truck.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
So it was during the holiday season, and it was, I had the opportunity of bringing in the escape bus.
Oh, yeah.
And it was interesting to put in veterans who may have had fear factors, may have had
PTSD,
trauma experiences, and putting them in a bus and not letting them escape until they learn the clues. And to see the development of trust was really exciting. And that's one of the reasons I love this population is, and the Veterans House is gorgeous, by the way.
It is, right.
They are this school is so pioneers.
Yeah,
They're
it's very unique.
pioneers.
You were listening to Lion Tales. Today's guest is Yvette Vega, a director of public relations, advocate for mental health, and a fitness instructor. And, we were speaking about the ways in which, you have assisted on campus, and, that the campus is really, it's sort of like an island of all sorts of activities and things going on. So can you tell us a little bit about the work that you're doing with the FDA? You did speak about certain aspects of it.
Yes. So I'll give you one example. We're working on a clinical study for post-traumatic stress. And when someone has post-traumatic stress, not only does it affect their quality of life, but it reduces their ability to experience daytime pleasure. And so our hypothesis is improving quality of sleep. And if you have restorative sleep, doesn't matter how long or how short, but when you're sleeping, if you have restorative sleep, then it can improve quality of life. So we're working with a medication. It happens to be a glycine. It's the simplest form of amino acid. It doesn't perpetuate addiction. And so if somebody is struggling, if they're struggling with sleep, if they're struggling with flat affect and not being able to experience joy and pleasure in their lives, the clinical study is an interesting study because, one, it's confidential. Two, we're not limited to insurance. It's all paid for by private sector. And there's so many safety measures because it doesn't benefit anyone if someone decompensates.
Right.
So it's I'll give you an example. We had one Marine that I had the pleasure of meeting, and when I did meet him, he was in a very dark place. It was a very serious darkness that he was living, and he was definitely not enjoying his quality of life. He wasn't trusting anything. He came into our study. It was confidential. He then retired military life and became a police officer. And he didn't have the stigma of having to say to someone and going on his record, look, I'm struggling. And all of this was confidential. And I saw the improvement in his life and many others like him. And it's important work because we all know the addiction model in this country and how we're treating anxiety and stress. And we need to do better.
Things that aren't good.
And so I'm actually, I know of some students that have PTSD who are between the ages of, let's say, 8 and 11. And those students also have sleep deprivation. They are seeking therapy on the outside, but I think a lot of the therapists are not equipped to deal specifically with PTSD because it's not that it's new, but the coin phrase PTSD I think is new, and especially working with young children. How do you think we should approach that when we see signs of sleep deprivation or eating disorders or any type of anxiety when it comes to that because a child had some type of a trauma?
We're working on a protocol. It has to do with attention deficit. And what I know about attention deficit is it happens in the prefrontal cortex. And I also know that meditation stimulates the prefrontal cortex. And it would be a pleasure to address that holistically with meditation. There are definite styles of meditation. So to empower our educators and our teachers, to empower our kids moving forward, because it would be a lifetime skill that they can take forever.
Right. We're doing a lot of mindfulness and breathing exercises and thinking before you act impulsively and all of these things. And I do see it helping children. I think that they're a little bit more apt, most of them, to take a breather, take a break. They know that they need a break and try to run the classroom in a way that is not so, I guess, stringent, because the children are coming in with different needs and they may not need to sit for the whole entire 6 hours and 55 minutes. They may need to get up. They may need to stretch it out a little bit and interact in a different way. So I'm hoping that we're going toward that model, which is really a constructivist model that shows that we have innovative ways of dealing with this new generation of kids coming up.
Neuroreceptors.
Yeah.
Medication stimulates neuroreceptors. Exercise stimulates neuroreceptors. We have neuroreceptors in our brain, in our spinal cord, in our belly. Now since we're talking exercise, let's look at belly dance. Do you know that belly dance was passed down from mother to daughter to prepare for childbirth because it targeted the pain receptors? So every one of us, we have the ability to reduce pain, to reduce stress, and anti-aging and antidepressants. So exercise stimulates neuroreceptors. just as medication does, and probably better.
After I had experienced the trauma, one of the best things that I did was go to the gym. And then it became, I needed to go to the gym. I wanted to go to the gym, and I'm one of those that sleep late. I was up 4 o'clock in the morning, and going to the gym and being invigorated and feeling a little more like myself each time, and just really enjoying the factor that I could exercise it and exercise into better and a healthy lifestyle, other than sitting there with my favorite Grand Marnier. So exercise is a life-changing set of skills that you can. That's within your own grasp. I didn't have to go get a prescription to exercise.
Right.
Exactly.
Do you recommend, like, let's say even for like women, especially, working all day and we're very hyped up and running around. How do we take that 5 minutes, and what would that 5 minutes look like? Is it a quick walk if we can't, do a 30-minute workout, or is it just sitting and being quiet for 5 minutes?
I would say all three. One would be you can sit in a chair and cross your leg and stretch out your iliotibial band, which is the primary problem for back problems. So while you're sitting in the chair, just do some sitting poses, yoga sitting poses. 2, definitely the breathing, right? We can't sustain life if we lose 3 minutes of air. And our quality of air is could be shallow because we're not breathing correctly. So the mindfulness of taking in that inhalation through your nose and just opening up your mouth and exhaling, the recycle of that air, and try to get the air into the belly and try to get the air into the heart. And Qigong. If you contract your belly muscles in and out, you start to massage your internal organs, you get oxygenation into areas that they don't normally go, and right there, that is a stress reduction in anxiety. The cortisol just goes down.
Wonderful. You're listening to Lion Tales on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. My name is Aurora Workman, along with Dr. Lynnda Nadien, and our guest today is Yvette Vega, Director of Public Relations for FDA Neurobehavioral Research, located in Cedarhurst, New York. And she is wonderful. I just took a nice deep breath and kind of cleared something, just said, woof. Okay. And she's actually a yoga trainer and fitness instructor. And so we've been talking about how ways to de-stress, especially this is, Lynnda had mentioned with the way women have to run their lives, and we're always running, and we're always, if we have 5 minutes, you are just taking us through an exercise that actually kind of had us woosah.
Yeah. Qigong. We need that.
What did you just call
Qigong?
It? Qigong?
Qigong, yes.
Qigong.
And it really helped. For our listening audiences, here, Yvette, there are also things, because we know in times at colleges, students stress out and beyond. And it's not just the work at school, but it's the life balance. Work, school, life. What would you say to those students? How would you give them instruction?
Identify all the bad things that you say to yourself and change that. So if you say, I'm a failure, my life is not worth anything, all the negative self-talk needs to be reversed immediately. That's the most important affirmation, is how you speak to yourself. And reverse the negativity. I succeed. I love and accept myself. I trust every moment, every outcome, every day. I trust. That affirmation for me, like when I wake up in the middle of the night and I can't sleep, what I do, I don't count sheep. I do my affirmations. And I could lie there in bed for 2 hours and I'm saying, I love and accept myself. I trust every moment, every outcome, every day, because obviously I'm waking up in the middle of the night because there is a level of anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
And being a single female and having a mortgage and not having anyone to turn to during the hours when you wake up in the middle of the night and say, God forbid something happens, because you look at the world, right? You look, and affirmations will reduce your stress hormones, will get you through the day, and will empower you to succeed.
And that's one of the things that I really like my friends who on social media post positive affirmations, because every time it's something, it's like, oh gosh, I needed to hear that, and life is just such a struggle especially in times of uncertainty, and so those affirmations, I kind of cleaned house as of 1/1/2020 in terms of who I have on my Facebook page, what things are popping up, because the negativity and even just looking at social media and then really being in the real world and having to help others with their real life issues is weighing, and so that is good to know that, I do get up and sit there and say, it's going to be all right, Aurora. We've done this before, and we're going to get through it. And, I have ride or die children who sit there and they're like, we're with you, Mom. Don't worry. And they're the ones that, we're not stressing because you've always brought us through on the other end. So that is really good for everyone, I guess, to know. And I like what you said, change your negative self-talk. So that is really a good notion for everyone. And in these last moments, what else would you leave our listening audience with?
Well, let's identify what generalized anxiety is, right? Mm-hmm. Generalized anxiety is the feeling of impending doom, realized or not. So if you do your ABCs, just sit down with yourself and go through each letter, like A, affirmation, B, betterment, C, and do all the way to Z, and you're going to find what your negative words are.
Okay.
Maybe when you get to F, you're going to say fear. Or
maybe.
Right? So sit down with yourself, get a pen and paper, do A through Z, and see what you're thinking, what your internal rhetoric is, and just start there.
And how could our listeners contact you or the Neurobehavioral organization? How could they do that?
So it's nbrresearch.com. We are in Cedarhurst, New York. Our phone number, can I give that?
Yes, please.
Is 516-295-7230. If anybody is having anxiety, or if they're isolating, they're having depression, or if they're having sleep disturbances, or if they carry any particular diagnosis that we specialize in, we have fascinating protocols. We're working with schizophrenia, bipolar, major depression, adult attention deficit, post-traumatic stress, bipolar disorder, and together we can change the world.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for being here. And we'll just give that number one more time, 516-295-7230, the Neurobehavioral Research. Thank you so much, Yvette Vega, for being our guest today.
You guys are the highlight of my day.
We want to thank you for being with us. My name is Dr. Lynnda Nadien, along with my fabulous friend Aurora Workman, president of the Nassau Community College Alumni Association. This show is a production of the Nassau Community College Alumni Association. Visit ncc.edu/WHPC for more information. Powered by the Nassau Community College Foundation on the voice of Nassau Community College 90.3 WHPC. We'll talk to you next week.